Well, trees fell all over the city of Lexington during that historic wind, knocking down power lines, damaging homes, and blocking lots of roads. Friday's storm raises some questions about Kentucky Utilities tree cutting practices.
Yeah, you may remember in 2021, some in a Lexington neighborhood were outraged at a proposal to cut trees down along Lansdowne Drive. KU said it was necessary because they were near power lines. Today, WKYT's Kelsey Soto talked with KU about their tree cutting policies. She's live for us here in Lexington with the details. Good evening, Kelsey.
Good evening. You know, the trees really are pretty, and they are pretty painful and difficult to get rid of in a situation like this. It's going to be the story for the next few days until crews can get out here and homeowners have time to chop up and properly dispose of and remove the debris that we saw from Friday's storm. After talking with KU today, though, the story really is the fact that had they not been doing year-round mitigation efforts, a lot of the power outages we saw could have been a lot worse. The city of Lexington says they are proud of their rich history of trees, but understand the tight balance of safety for the community.
A little bit of a year-round issue in addition to things like severe weather. Just we do have a street tree requirement, of course, in a lot of our subdivisions. Street trees bring their own set of challenges because they are in the utility strip frequently, and that can create leaves in the fall on the roadways, and then branches during severe weather that are more likely to fall into the roadway or across the sidewalk.
Kentucky Utilities maintains their right-of-way easements through mitigation work on a planned rotating cycle. Spokesman Daniel Lowry says their investments in tree trimming efforts have reduced outages by frequency and duration by nearly 30% since 2011. That's excluding major events like we saw Friday.
So our efforts are working, it's paying off, and it matters.
The work, however, isn't always met with open arms. Sometimes they face resistance. He tells me if they have to remove trees, they do try to replant new ones elsewhere, and each year they give away thousands of seedlings.
And sometimes folks can get upset, and we understand that. And we've been listening to folks, and we know. And we worked with the city of Lexington and the mayor to be able to kind of come to an agreement and work out a system that seems to be working for everybody.
We did hear from Mayor Linda Gorton this weekend that the damage caused by Friday's windstorm will likely be in the millions of dollars, and unfortunately, these guys are probably the blame and the culprit here. The trees certainly did cause a major amount of the damage. Unfortunately, though, she says that the sad part is some things can't be replaced, and that includes the history that is in a lot of those trees that were nearing several hundred years old. Live in Lexington, Kelsey Soto, WKYT.